Fellow educator, counselor, teacher, administrator, I want to talk to you about something that we have been doing for years to just serve as a tool of communication between home and school, and that is behavior charts. I've been in education going on 18 years now, and they've been in existence since I've been here. When I was in school myself, still today, it's just a very popular tool that we use, and it's very helpful to let parents know how behavior is going, to let us know how behavior is going, and to build student awareness. But there's one issue with behavior charts that is still going on today. And if you change this one thing in your behavior charts will be 10 times more effective than most behavior charts that are floating around. Now, if you're enrolled in Defiance to Compliance, you have access to a lot of behavior charts. You already know what I'm talking about. If you're not enrolled in that program, I'm going to give this to you. Behavior charts that are called behavior charts, so-called behavior charts, most of them really are not behavior charts. They're actually, instead of verbs on the behavior chart, like actual behaviors, they're actually adjectives. They're words like, were you kind? Were you respectful? Were you, all of these things that are actually very subjective. They're not actual behaviors. But if you would make one small tweak to your behavior chart and make your behavior chart actually behavioral, things like, were you in your seat, in your seat versus out of your seat, compliant versus non-compliant, did you use kind words, instead of things like, were you kind? Because a lot of times what happens, and I've been guilty of this several times myself, so I'm not trying to preach like I do this right and you do this wrong. It's not that at all. But it's an honest mistake that we make, because when students would come to me at the end of my classes and they would pass me behavior charts that would say, were you kind, were you respectful, were you responsible, and I gave a numeric rating to it, you know, a lot of times it was very subjective. And then I would get into an argument with the student about, you know, why they should have got a 5 instead of the 3 that I gave them. And, you know, when the behavior chart is not behavioral, you know, a lot of times the student is right. You're not being fair. You're being subjective. So you make your behavior chart so much more effective if, number one, you make it behavioral, and number two, you actually set a goal and mark a tally of the instances that behavior that you want to see actually happened. So if you want a student, for example, to raise their hand instead of calling out, why don't you put raising hand on the behavior chart, and you could actually tally each time they raise their hand, or have the student tally each time they raise their hand, or maybe set a goal so that your behavior charts are actually behavioral. You're targeting a goal. You're getting behaviors to be practiced. You're getting it in their muscle memory. And then you decide whatever type of incentives you want to have on that chart. So that is one thing that is going to make your behavior chart 10 times more effective than most behavior charts out there. And share this with your colleagues, because they'll get a lot better results from this too. And the bottom line is, we want students to be able to have an awareness so they can improve their own behavior. So I hope that you found this helpful. Go and integrate this in your classroom. Tweak your behavior charts now if you can. And leave a comment and tell me how this is working for you. All right, take care.